Hi, this is John from Potentia LLC, once again, doing our Back to Basics series. Today we'll be talking about overwatering. There's a lot to talk about on overwatering, and everybody does it, and once in a while you're going to overwater. So that is our subject for the day. And we'll get into all the little aspects of how to identify it. So, first thing we're going to do is look at what are the indications of overwatering. Several different things will crop up immediately. Usually you'll see the plants will start to droop as if they need more water. You can also get yellowing leaves. The tips of the leaves will yellow, the entire leaves will yellow, leaves will fall off, a lot of different things. So some of the indications of overwatering: the leaves will begin curling downwards. They basically taco down. The leaves will yellow. They'll start at the tips, or they'll variegate throughout the entire leaf structure. Leaves will droop. Basically, they look like they're starved for water. They're dehydrated. They need water. They don't. They're in an overwatered state. Worst thing to do is give them more water. Top of the soil is damp. Again, going back to the finger test that we talked about, how to determine proper soil moisture in our transplanting video. Use your hand, use your fingers, determine if it's wet. If it's wet for days, don't water. You have to learn to determine whether or not the plant actually needs more water, more feed, or if it only needs half of what it got before. The other thing is, overwatering conditions can be mistaken for nutrient deficiencies, can be mistaken for nitrogen or magnesium deficiencies, and the impulse is to feed them something to correct that perceived nutrient deficiency, which, if they're in an overwater state, adding anything to the root mass is bad. So essentially, you want them to dry out. That's the key thing to do, is stop watering. So what we're going to look at next is how to fix the problem, how to bring your plants back if possible. So I'm going to go with that. Right, so to remediate an overwatered plant, the first thing to do is stop watering. It's logical. Second thing is adjust your watering schedule. If you have plants that are overwatered, most likely your schedule is off, you're using a little bit too much. You're not metering or counting how much water you put into each plant. So adjust that schedule. Water and feed more often with less volume. The plants will love you for it, and it'll work a lot better. So in this case, less is more. Eliminate standing water in saucers or in your trays. Some people use the saucers as trays as a sort of reservoir so that the plant can have a little extra water as it needs. It's not a good idea. It's a good way to get root rot. It's a good way to lead to an overwatered condition. I go by the 5-minute rule. Whatever water I put into the tray or drains into the tray should be taken back up and absorbed by the root mass within 5 minutes of that happening. And it's a good rule. It works. So now we're going to look at a few ways that you can remediate an overwatered plant. So to begin. Okay, so to remediate, there's a few ways you can do it, to go about it. Use a high drainage media, something like ProMix or Sunshine No. 4. They drain well, they don't retain water. Other soils, bagged soils especially, like black gold water holding, it holds water really, really well. I used to use black gold. I would add normally about 30% perlite to the black gold, and it was nearly perfect. I loved it. But the ProMix is what I use now. It's a good high drainage media to use. When transplanting, don't saturate the soil. Don't overwater your newly transplanted cuttings or plants. Refer to the transplanting video that we've done previously. That shows really well how to prepare your soil, how to get it to a proper moisture, how to determine the proper moisture with the squeeze test. That's key. Don't oversaturate the soil upon transplanting. Try to use fabric pots, smart pots, any one of the other fabric pots. They work great. There are some pros and cons. Some people like them, some people don't. If you have a challenge with overwatering, try the fabric pots. It makes things easier for you. Use the finger method. Stick your hands in there, get your finger in there. Much moisture is in the soil. Meters do not work in my experience. I've tried, had bad results. I've had lots of clients come to me and say, well, I use a meter and I water according to the meter. It doesn't work. It just doesn't work time after time. The best method to determine soil moisture is with your finger or your hands. You can also do a test pot. Get the same size pot that you're normally growing in. You can't really do this if you're outdoors in beds or anything like that, but get a pot, fill it with soil, appropriately moisturized, give it a few days, lift it, feel how heavy it is, and get an idea of what a properly moisturized pot feels like as far as weight. That'll give you an idea, and when you're checking your plants, you lift the pot, if you can lift the pots. It'll give you a good idea of how much water is still in the soil. So to recap, to wrap it up, one thing you don't want to do is overwater your plants. It's one of the biggest reasons that plants fail, growers fail, that they have issues, is overwatering. A little bit of diligence, attention, and a little bit of practice, you won't overwater. So thank you so much for watching our videos, visiting our site, and remember, when you have bug problems, use D2M.